You think Jacksonville's done growing? Not even close. The truth is, the city's just getting warmed up, and it's happening in ways most people aren't even seeing yet. Because 2025, it's a turning point. We're talking master plan communities breaking ground faster than the signs can go up, downtown towers rising, school zones shifting, and entire neighborhoods flipping their identity block by block. Some areas that were red hot the last couple of years starting to cool. Meanwhile, pockets that barely had a name before, they're catching fire. And it's all happening faster than anyone expected. We're covering it all. What's rising, what's fading, and where the job growth is moving. Which communities are making a comeback, and how Jacksonville, Florida's lifestyle is shifting in real time. If you live here, or you're trying to make a smart move before the next wave hits, this is the update you need. Now think about this for a second. You're cruising through St. Johns County on a regular weekday, maybe running errands, maybe just trying to find a shortcut that doesn't involve traffic on 210. You hit that one stretch of road you thought you knew, and boom! There's a new roundabout, a row of framed up rooftops, and a coming soon sign for a school or grocery store that wasn't even a rumor the last time you passed by. That moment, it's happening all over Jacksonville, Florida right now. Quiet roads turning into community entrances, empty fields becoming town centers, and people who thought they were buying in the middle of nowhere, now living in the middle of everything. And the wild part, this isn't just about the suburbs anymore. What's rising in Jacksonville right now, from Silverleaf to Seven Pines to pockets of the downtown, is about to change the way people live, commute, and even choose what side of town they want to be on. So let's break it down. What's being built, where it's going, and why certain areas are suddenly getting more attention than ever before. Let's start with the obvious. If you live anywhere near Silverleaf, Seven Pines, Rivertown, Nocatee, or Durban, you already know what I'm about to say. There is no slowdown happening here. Silverleaf, it's basically its own city now. Over 10,000 homes planned, new amenity centers popping up like they're giving them away, and the commercial side finally starting to fill in. Grocery stores, restaurants, even rumors of a medical campus coming down to the line. You've got entire phases breaking ground before the roads leading to them are even finished. Same story in Seven Pines, just off 295 and JTB. That one's been under the radar for most people because the first wave of buyers got in quick and quiet. Now they're the schools and the amenities in the works. And builders like David Weekley and ICI dropping new releases. Interest is skyrocketing, and not just from locals. We're seeing buyers from California, from the Northeast, folks who are selling their 1,200 heated square foot homes and showing up here with all cash. Even Rivertown, which has already had a strong foothold, is leveling up again with a newer amenity center, phases, and surprising amount of resale competition. This isn't just pick your builder in your lot anymore, it's strategy. Now here's where it gets interesting. All the developments is creating micro markets. You'll have two buyers looking at homes just a mile apart, but the price, the schools, the resale potential, completely different. Because one community has a new Publix going in, while the other is still waiting on roads and drainage. So if you're out there trying to make sense of which neighborhood is right for you, especially with all this movement, you're not alone. And that's where we come in. If you're relocating, upsizing, downsizing, or just trying to time the market, we do this every day. My team and I live and work in these exact neighborhoods. We know the builders, we know which sections are hot, and which ones might leave you regretting your decision in 2 years. So if you're thinking about making a move, don't guess your way through it, reach out. We'd love to be your go-to Jacksonville, Florida real estate team. Our info is in the description and pinned in the comments. And while the rooftops keep rising, the real story, it's what's happening between those builds. And that leads us right into something most people never consider until it's too late. Then there's Murray Hill. It was quiet for a while. Felt like it never quite figured out what it really wanted to be. But now, coffee shops are packed, there's new retail trickling in, and the housing stock is just vintage enough to feel cool without falling apart. Plus, it's finally starting to benefit from the spillover buzz from Riverside, Avondale, without the Riverside price tag. And don't sleep on Arlington. Look, I know that sounds like a stretch, but parts of Arlington are seeing serious attention. Between the river access, the central location, and developers starting to test the waters with infill homes and duplexes, there's potential brewing. It's still early, but it feels like Springfield 5 years ago. And if the right momentum hits, this one could surprise a lot of people. What do these neighborhoods all have in common? They're close to the core. They've got walkability, charm, and they're just far enough from the chaos to feel authentic. And the folks moving in, they aren't just following trends. They're chasing lifestyle, history, and value. Oh, and let's not ignore the ripple effect. When one of these comeback zones takes off, the surrounding blocks go with it. Those fixer-uppers 3 streets over suddenly looks like a smart buy. That rental that's been sitting there, now it has a waiting list. This is the kind of movement you don't see on Zillow. You feel it on the ground, in the coffee shops, at the open houses, with lines out the door for a 1940s bungalow that still has its original hardwood floors. Now on the flip side, yes, new construction is still hot, and we're going to talk more about resale versus builder demand in just a little bit. But the most interesting part of the shift, it's not just where people are buying, it's why. Because once you understand where the jobs are going, everything else just kind of starts to make sense. Think about this. Neighborhoods don't just take off because someone built a pool and put a Starbucks nearby. It's the jobs. The real momentum always starts when companies put down roots, hire locals, and shift the flow of traffic, literally and financially. And right now in Jacksonville, we're seeing exactly that. Let's start with Amazon. They're not just dropping packages, they're dropping payroll. The fulfillment and distribution centers around Jacksonville are growing fast, especially on the north side and near the airport corridor. And where there's logistics, there's ripple. We're seeing increased demand in areas like Ocean Way, Yellow Bluff, and even into Nassau County. These aren't the flashy Instagram neighborhoods, but the numbers don't lie. Buyers are showing up for access, affordability, and proximity to work. Then there's the healthcare sector, led by Mayo Clinic and Baptist Health. Mayo is continuing to build out its medical campuses in South Jacksonville Beach, and Baptist just expanded services in Clay County and around the 210 corridor. These moves don't just attract patients, they attract relocating medical professionals, high-income households, and the support industries that follow behind them. Finance and insurance are quietly making noise too. Companies like Fidelity, ViStar, and Florida Blue have been building out teams in their downtown and south side hubs. And with hybrid work evolving, a lot of mid-career professionals are realizing, hey, I don't need to be in New York or Atlanta to make good money. I can work remotely and live near the coast and actually enjoy my lifestyle. Which brings me to an important point. This isn't just about blue-collar logistics or white-collar healthcare. The entire buyer pool is shifting. We're seeing more remote workers, dual-income couples, and out-of-state relocators crunching the numbers and realizing they can live bigger here without sacrificing their career potential. And guess what? They don't want to commute 45 minutes to nowhere. They're not chasing the biggest home, they're chasing the smartest location. That's why areas with strong job corridors, easy highway access, and solid school options are quietly outperforming neighborhoods that used to dominate the headlines. Bottom line, if you want to know where Jacksonville's going next, don't follow the rooftops, follow the paychecks. Where people work tells you where they'll live, where they'll shop, and how much they're willing to pay to stay close. And if you're already living in one of those areas, you might be sitting on a future gold mine. But jobs here are only half the story, because the other factor, the one that changes how people actually move through the city, is infrastructure. And right now, Jacksonville's map is shifting beneath the tires. Now here's something most people completely underestimate: how you get around Jacksonville is starting to change. And if you lived here for more than 5 minutes, you know that's saying a lot. Let's start with where it hurts. Durbin Parkway and 210. That was once a quiet cut through to nowhere, is now a major artery being asked to handle weight of Silverleaf, Rivertown, and Nocatee spillover all at once. And yes, finally they're widening it, but construction is just getting started, and it's gonna be messy before it gets better. Expect cones, lane shifts, and the occasional "why did I move here" moment in your morning commute. Meanwhile, over on the First Coast Expressway, things are moving faster. The outer loop is getting expanded to connect I-10 and I-95, making Clay County and Green Cove Springs way more accessible than they've ever been. The goal? Create a real bypass for Southside and give people another way around the chaos. For now, it's still early, but buyers who are willing to wait a year or two, they're already placing bets out there. There's also quiet progress happening with park and ride lots, new JTA routes, and a renewed push for a walkable community design in places like E-Town and parts of the South Side. They aren't full-blown public transit revolutions, but they are proof that Jacksonville is finally waking up to the idea that not everyone wants to drive around 40 minutes for groceries. And while you're at it, let's talk about the Brightline buzz. Yeah, it's still a rumor, but the idea that Jacksonville's to Orlando line, it's gaining traction. Whether it lands in downtown, Bay Meadows, or somewhere nobody expects, it's worth watching. Because if it happens, that's not just a train station, that's a property value magnet. Bottom line, the way people move through Jacksonville is being reshaped in real time. And if you're thinking long-term buying, selling, or relocating, you need to be looking beyond the lot line, because access is going to matter just as much as square footage. And speaking of long-term plays, the real question isn't how you get around, it's what kind of life you're building while you do it. Because Jacksonville's lifestyle, it's shifting too. And that's what we're digging into next. Let's zoom out for a second, because yeah, homes, roads, and job centers, they all matter. But what'll really change is the feel of Jacksonville in 2025. It's the culture, the lifestyle, the vibe. And it's happening in ways that most people miss, until they look up one day and realize the place that used to drive through now have craft breweries, food truck rallies, and Sunday markets that are actually worth showing up to. Let's start with Riverside and Avondale. Still the OGs when it comes to walkable historic neighborhoods, but even they're leveling up. New neighborhoods are opening that don't feel like they're trying too hard. Live music spots and making a comeback, and the Riverside Arts Market, bigger than ever. It's not just for tourists anymore, it's where locals actually spend their Saturdays. San Marco is holding on strong, but shifting. Boutique fitness spots, wine bars, coffee shops, and the indie shops is surprisingly alive for a section this size. Add to that the upcoming South Bank Riverwalk improvements, it starts to feel like a place you could rival spots like Charleston or Savannah, if it plays its cards right. And then you've got Jacksonville Beach. Still casual, still a little gritty, but there's a noticeable energy shift. More rooftop dining, more young families moving in, and more development that's bringing better food, better coffee, and better reasons to stick around after sunset. That laid-back surf town vibe, it's still there, but now it comes with a poke bowl and a solid espresso. Even neighborhoods like Springfield and Murray Hill, places once written off as too edgy or too early, are finding their stride. We're seeing mural projects, brewery expansions, co-working lounges, dog parks. It's like the city's creative side finally got funding and a sense of direction. The bottom line, Jacksonville's not trying to be Miami or Austin, but it's quietly building its own thing. Something rooted in authenticity, affordability, and slightly unpredictable energy that makes you say, okay, this could be something. And when culture moves in, something else always follows: food. And right now, Jacksonville's restaurant scene is doing something no one expected. Some staples are fading, but a new culinary wave is rising. Here's something a lot of people don't expect to feel when a city grows: grief. And no, I'm not being dramatic, it's real. Because in 2025, Jacksonville lost some serious heavy hitters in the restaurant world. Ragtime Tavern, gone. After decades in Atlantic Beach, the Bearded Pig's Jacksonville Beach location closed after 4 years. Maple Street Biscuit, scaling back. Burrito Gallery, done downtown after holding it down for 18 years. These weren't just places to grab food, they were anchors, landmarks, that gave neighborhoods personality. And when they shut their doors, it hit people deeply, more than they expected. Like the city's changing and a little piece of the old vibe just disappeared. But there's the other side of it. New energy already moving in. We're seeing a local wave of chefs stepping up with concepts that feel sharper, riskier, and more intentional. You've got Butchner's Beer Hall, drawing in lines in Murray Hill, River and Post doing rooftop dining service downtown that actually competes with cities twice the size. And a new batch of food halls and chef-driven pop-ups testing the waters in places like Springfield, Brooklyn, and E-Town. Even the coffee game is leveled up. Southern Grinds, Bold Bean, and Flamingo Coffee, and Vagabond. It's not just caffeine anymore, it's community. These places are becoming the new third spaces, where people meet, network, and figure out what part of town they actually like being in. And the big trend? culture-based dining, more Korean barbecue, more Venezuelan fusion, more places where the menu doesn't have to play it safe. That tells you a lot about who's moving here and what kind of city Jacksonville is becoming. This isn't just a shift in taste, it's a shift in identity. The old flavors will always have a place in our memory, but the ones stepping in now, they're setting the tone for what this city looks like and feels like in the next 5 years. Jacksonville's event lineup, it's bigger, bolder, and it's starting to define what weekends really look like here. If you want to feel Jacksonville's energy shift in real time, don't just watch the skyline, check the calendar. Because from June through the end of 2025, this city is stacked with events that are turning weekends into something more worth planning around. Let's start with Jacksonville's Porch Fest on November 8th. It's a free, family-friendly music festival held on the welcoming front porches of historic Springfield, featuring over 20 bands, food trucks, and an arts vendor market. Then there's the Florida Fin Fest, happening September 12th and the 13th at the Seawalk Pavilion in Jacksonville Beach. It's a free, family-friendly festival focusing on ocean conservation with live music, educational exhibits, and activities for all ages. WasabiCon returns on October 10th and 12th, bringing together fans of anime, cosplay, and pop culture for a weekend of panels, contests, and community. It's Jacksonville's largest conventions of its kind, and it keeps growing every year. Looking ahead to November, the Greater Jacksonville Agricultural Fair kicks off its annual run. Expect classic fair rides, live music, agricultural exhibits, and plenty of food favorites. And let's not forget the Tax Slayer Gator Bowl as we ring in the new year. It's more than just a college football game. It's a week-long celebration with fan events, pep rallies, and a festive atmosphere that takes over downtown Jacksonville. These events aren't just dates on a calendar. They're a reflection of Jacksonville's evolving identity. They showcase the city's commitment to community, culture, and connection. But while the city is buzzing with events and festivals, there's another shift happening, one that's impacting families in a big way. Let's talk about the changes in school zones, new educational options, and what it means for families moving into the Jacksonville area. Here's something we're seeing more and more of in 2025. Buyers, especially families, aren't just asking about the house anymore. They're asking about the school before they even ask about the square footage. And they're smart to do it, because school zoning in Jacksonville, it's shifting fast. Take St. Johns County, for example. Still ranked as one of the best school districts in Florida, but with all the new developments in Silverleaf, Nocatee, and Shearwater, rezoning is basically an annual ritual now. A home that's zoned for a specific A-rated school today might look different by the time your kid hits 3rd grade. We're also seeing a major rise in charter and magnet programs, especially in Duval County. And families are getting creative, choosing neighborhoods based not just on what's zoned for today, but how close they are to open enrollment options, after-school programs, or private school routes. Families are looking at the full picture: class size, after-school programs, commute times, and let's be honest, where other families are moving. Because schools don't just shape education, they shape resale. A 3-bedroom home in a solid district, close to work in a walkable zone, that'll move a lot faster than a new build in a still developing area, almost every time. That's why we always tell our clients, we're not just buying a home, we're buying into a long-term plan and an understanding, school zones, rezoning maps, and future growth. It's a total game changer. And speaking of shifts, let's talk about who is actually moving here and why it's changing everything about the way Jacksonville is priced, built, and lived in. Here's the stat most locals don't even realize. On average, more than 1,000 people a week are moving to Florida, and a growing chunk of them, they're not landing in Miami, Tampa, or Orlando. They're showing up right here in Jacksonville, Florida. But here's the twist. This wave isn't a one-size-fits-all. We're seeing remote workers from New York, Chicago, and California. Folks cashing out of the expensive markets and rolling into here with serious buying power. They're looking for space, lifestyle, and value. And compared to where they're coming from, Jacksonville looks like a steal. At the same time, regional migration is booming. People from South Florida, Atlanta, and even Charlotte are choosing Jacksonville because it feels familiar, less chaotic. They want affordability without isolation, beaches without South Florida traffic, space to breathe, but with potential for growth. And then there's the boomerang buyers, people who grew up here, left for college or careers, and are now coming back with families in remote jobs. They want the roots without the sprawl, and they're not afraid to invest in older neighborhood if the vibe is right. So what does this mean for you? It means Jacksonville's buyer pool is more diverse, competitive, and informed than ever before. People aren't just moving here on a whim. They're studying the job markets, the school zones, the commute patterns, the lifestyle perks, and the smart ones, they're getting ahead of the curve while prices are still climbing predictably, not explosively. It also means demand isn't just coming from one type of buyer anymore. You've got downsizers looking for low maintenance, new builds, families hunting for schools, investors eyeing short-term rental zones, and remote workers trying to land within 20 minutes of the airport. So if you're planning to buy, sell, or hold in Jacksonville in the next 12 to 24 months, you need to understand who you're competing with and what the value is. Because when migration shifts, everything else follows. And what brings us to one final and massive question: where is Jacksonville, Florida headed next? Let's talk about the future predictions, market behavior, and how to get ahead of what's coming in 2026. So what's next? Here's the honest answer. Jacksonville's not just growing, it's maturing. We're watching the city evolve from the hidden gem to a real contender. That means tighter inventory, faster price jumps in key zip codes, and more national attention from developers, retailers, and yes, investors. We're expecting more master plan communities to break ground west of I-95, downtown revitalization to finally hit a turning point with major public partnerships in motion, and a sharper divide between neighborhoods that stay undervalued and those that pop seemingly overnight. But the real takeaway? Jacksonville isn't just reaching to demand anymore, it's shaping it. The areas you understand now, where infrastructure, schools, and lifestyle are aligning, will be the same places people wish they had bought in 2 years from now. So whether you're looking to move in, move out, invest, or upgrade, don't wait for it to hit the headlines. Then it's always too late. We're on the ground in these neighborhoods every single day, watching it all unfold in real time. So if you're thinking about buying or selling in Jacksonville, Florida, or just want to make a clearer view of what's really going on, reach out to our local team. We'd love to be your local real estate resource of choice. And if you want more deep dives like this one, check out our playlist right here that breaks down what it's like living in Jacksonville. It's packed with local insights, neighborhood guides, and updates you won't hear anywhere else. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you on the next one.